Right. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of #JustTalk. I'm here with Fahim today. This is, before we get started, this is a follow-up episode of episode 8. If you haven't checked that out, please go and check it out. It's our most viewed video on the channel, and it is for a reason, because it's quite to do with something serious, to do with cancer in football. But today, this is going to be about something that doesn't really get spoken about. And to be honest, I learned about this in the last podcast that we did. Fahim, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, Rob. Thanks for having me back on. Oh, hang on, Rob. What's this? What's this mug you got there?
Oh, there's no need to talk to me like that. Do you mean this cup here? This JustTalk, this one? Oh, yeah, it's really good. It holds tea. It holds coffee really well. And you know what, Fahim? We're giving away for free. Could you believe it?
I don't, because I haven't got one yet, Rob.
Oh, well, it'll be on the post, you know. You DM me on Twitter, and we'll send one over to you. And that goes out to listeners as well. Don't worry, guys. We didn't just I didn't just tell Fahim to put on his best acting voice, but yeah, if you are interested in them, they're totally free. Fans by Diversity sent me 30. I got them for nothing, and I thought, what better way to spread the word and give away for nothing? But
excellent.
Let's get on with it. Fahim, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, Rob. Thanks. It's been quite a hectic week, but yeah, doing good.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. You know, we've been trying to do this follow-up for a while now, but you know, I can imagine. In the last podcast, you was getting a bit emotional, and that. How did you feel coming off when we just hit the stop recording button?
Well, I was anxious. I have to admit, when we stopped recording, I kind of sat back and I thought, wow, what have I just done? I'm not one to really be open about those things. I'm quite private. Obviously, it's not always the best way to deal with things, but that's just how I have done previously. And as soon as we were chatting afterwards, but like all I could think was, wow, what have I done? What I've been so. I mean, I felt more probably open, and I don't know if exposed is the right word, but just very raw episode, and I was very anxious about how it was going to go out, and people who are quite close to me were going to watch this and think, well, hang on, he's never mentioned this stuff before. Why has he not talked about this? Why am I hearing this, on a podcast 4 or 5 years later on? So yeah, it was quite an anxious moment, actually.
Was it worth being anxious over? What was the I won't use the word backlash, but what was the response?
Mate, the response has been amazing, really. I've had a lot of calls, a lot of messages. I've had people who have watched the pod then called and had a chat with me about what I went through, and then I've asked if they can forward the link to the pod on, so that people we might not have reached to can hear it as well. So yeah, the response was really overwhelming. It was it made it all worthwhile at the end of the day, because like I said, we're doing this primarily to kind of get a message out there and try and help people and try and encourage them and sort of show them that there are people and avenues available to people to get help. And so it was nice that people saw that, and it kind of put my anxiety to rest really quite quickly, because we got quite a huge response from it, to be fair.
Yeah, it was an absolute brilliant response, especially as a content creator that I call myself. At the moment, it is sitting on 31 comments and 29 likes. So, I think that just goes to show that that's the amount of response you did get online. It's a lot of support for yourself, and there's a lot of comments were about yourself. You still the show like you do every week when you're on. But the reason we have you on today, and obviously, I didn't send you no scripts. I haven't, other than doing the mug. I couldn't prove that. But there's, for anyone watching, me and Fahim doing this is just basically having a conversation. I think me even waffling here, it's proving that we haven't planned anything. We haven't done anything. Everything that Fahim's about to tell me, it's going to be raw. I haven't really heard it before. I know I've heard little bits and stuff like that, but it's a topic that I wanted to do again, because Fahim briefly mentioned about the aftermath, the so-called ringing the bell. Right, I know when you get cleared of cancer, well, I know it's not always completely clear, but you somewhat ring a bell. But then you mentioned about the aftermath and how that was a battle itself. You know, this is why we're doing it today. So, Fahim, before we dive straight into that, what is your thoughts and feelings on your cancer situation today?
How I am right now?
Yeah.
So I'm very fortunate right now. In terms of the cancer itself, you know, I've been clear for a few years now. I'll go for my appointments, go for my checkups. You know, fantastic service we get from the NHS. They've been outstanding. The team that I've had, consultants that I've been working with to make sure that, you know, I'm making my way back. You know, I'm taking my meds, listening to consultants. I've had my family around me. So, you know, for me, yeah, I mean, look, no one wants to go through anything like that. But you know, I was like I said, I've said a few times before on the pod, I was very lucky that I had the support that I had. And like I said, that, you know, we don't really mention them enough, but you know, there's groups like, you know, McMillan and the NHS guys at Bart's Hospital as well, that are where I was getting my treatment. So yeah, listen, right now I feel good. It's a busy time of year, so you know, it gets tiring. Again, like I mentioned before, but you know, I would take this situation, given what I went through. If I was going to get told, well, this is how you're going to be right now, after all of that, then yeah, you know, I'd take that. So yeah, I'm feeling good.
No, good stuff. So obviously it's quite obvious the world has gone to absolute mess at the moment. How was the COVID situation? Because you know, I know you do get a checkup every 6 months. Have you had to miss a checkup because of that, or?
They do so basically. I had a consultation over the phone in the summer, and then they asked me to get. So I'll have a bunch of blood tests done to check for tumor markers and you know, anything else that could be in the blood that they need to concern about, and obviously they need to look at the immune system and stuff like that as well. So all of those tests are done at Bart's when I go for my consultant's appointment. So what we did this time is I had the telephone consultation, and then they asked me to go to a local hospital that they'd selected where they have their patients go. So I just went there, had the test done, and then they get sent off to them. So and then a few days later they do the checks and then send the report back to me. So yeah, it was done a bit differently this time.
I'm not too sure how to even put this next question. I think that's why I just kind of asked about the COVID situation to build myself some time. But look, I've always thought, look, I think it's always crossed someone's head about possibly themselves getting cancer and that, and your mind can wander, you know it can. And for him, look, I'll say this to you because you're a really good friend of mine, but I would physically be scared now that it's over, that you know what I mean, that it could come back or something else could happen, something could grow. What's the feeling? What's your feeling, thoughts behind that?
Yeah, that's something you live with every day, even now, years on. When I first got the all clear, after a few days of that kind of relief and all that kind of stuff passed, you know, it was getting to the point where I was like frantically checking myself sort of every morning, and I had that fear that I was going to wake up one morning and it'd be back, and this time I wasn't going to be that lucky. It's yeah, it kind of got to me very, very quickly. And even now, you know, there are times when, you know, when I'm run down or I get infection, and or you know, you suffer with, you know, you get like abscesses. Sometimes they form like a lump on your leg or something like that, and it's an infection. It's nothing that's going to be too harmful as long as you look after it properly. But every time it just it does play on your mind a lot.
I think it's quite obvious from your reaction there. I just want to put a disclaimer out that, you know, me and Fahim are quite good friends, and he's already said before the pod that he's quite happy to answer any questions about it. And if he's not, they just simply won't go. You will not see it. It's as simple as that. But yeah, I can see. Obviously, look, you can see even today what it's doing to you. You know, it's the reason we're doing this today. For anyone who thinks I'm just probably doing this stupidly, is to raise awareness. You know, it's just to the fact that I know Fahim is over it today. You can see what it's doing to him emotionally, even to this day. His thoughts and feelings and how it's going. Sorry to interrupt you, but you know, it's. I just want to let the viewers know and just give you that moment to kind of.
It's a. Yeah. You know, you started it with probably one of the most potent questions of all, really, because before you get it, before you get cancer, you don't think about getting it. People around you get it, and you know you want to be there for them and you want to help them, but it doesn't make you feel like, you know, oh, I could get it. You just think, I'm going to go about my everyday, do my thing, go work, spend time with family, get old, you know, just life.
100%, 100%.
But once you've had it, for me anyway, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but for me it was, yeah, that kind of fear is there. It comes very, very quickly for me. I was, like I said, frantically checking at times, because the thing is, you hear, like, so I had testicular cancer, as you know, and I'd heard about other people that have had testicular cancer, like me, been very fortunate in that they had treatment, got really good help, and got through that battle. And then the next thing you hear is, in under a year, the cancer came back, but somewhere else, and it spread too quick. You know, testicular cancer is one of those cancers that, you know, does respond well to chemotherapy. So, you know, when you get that, I mean, no, like I said, you don't want any cancer, but when you get that cancer, there is a good chance, if you do the right things and get it quick enough, you know, you're going to be okay to an extent. But to hear other stories where people have had it and then within less than a year, it's come back in a different form, cancer in a different place.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, it plays on your mind all the time, really, to be fair, Rob.
Well, yeah, this is it. This is why we're doing this pod. I know it seems a bit, the conversation might seem a bit slow, but you know, this is real for us. You know, this is a real, for him, this is a real life situation. And the reason we're doing this as well is so, you know, if you're a man and you are watching this, you know, take the time to look after yourself and go and check yourself. You know, I'd admit myself, I'm probably a little bit selfish, because I probably think, oh, well, you know, I'm 27 years old, I'm fairly fit, nothing will happen to me. You know, it does. And as you said to yourself, if you get it, if you notice these things quick enough, it can be sorted. But
yeah, I mean, by the time I noticed, or by the time I had the pain, because I didn't check myself, I just got some intense pain that day, like I told you before. By the time I actually went in and got checked, you know, the cancer had started to spread. So although the tumor was quite localized, the cancer itself had started to spread. So yeah, you know, it's really important to be self-aware. You know, and there's lots of different things you can, you know, lots of different places you can go to get guidance on how to do that. Macmillan is one. There's lots of accounts on Twitter that are really good, Balls to Cancer and a few others as well, that, you know, show you how to check as well properly. So yeah, there's things out there that people can use, definitely.
Fahim, I just kind of want to take you back to, you know, as we said about ringing the bell, and I know I've dived in with probably quite a strong question about the fear of it, and that, you know, it's, I'll say it again, you did mention the aftermath, the fear of it, fear factor, and the battle that it was after. What, you know, for someone like myself, What is that battle? Because it's not something I've ever experienced. The chances are, and I hope the majority of the audience watching this haven't been through that either. So what is that battle?
It comes in different forms, Rob. Really, there's a physical battle of still feeling tired and drained because of what your body's been through. Worry of surviving cancer and catching a cold and not being able to get rid of it for weeks on end because you've got no immune system, which is obviously really dangerous as well. And then there's obviously the mental battle side of it, that kind of stress of fear of waking up in the morning and finding that what if it's back, and all those kind of negative thoughts that go into your mind because you've now had it and you've been through that war, and it's left its scars.
You said about
constant reminders of it, in different ways.
You said about not having an immune system. Like if I go to work tomorrow and someone has COVID and I have to isolate, for someone having a cold, say in your household or a family member's meant to come round, is that part of everyday life for you, even pre-COVID?
Yeah. I mean, look, we were always wary of me traveling, and I mean, you can't stop your life, Rob. At the end of the day, what I think, if you survive something like cancer and then don't go about living your life, you've already lost that battle. It's not good. So you have to kind of get back to some kind of normality, but you do have to be careful. You have to be wary. If you know that you're going to be somewhere, or if there's a family get together or something, and people have got like colds and coughs and things like that, you have to be careful. It just, for me, is always like, when I was younger, I'd get a cold, a couple of days and I'm fine, just rest up and I'm okay. It was never longer than that. Post-cancer, we're talking about 10 days knocked out sometimes. So it's quite a difference. And it's frustrating because you think, well, hang on, like, I just beat cancer. Why can't I just get on with it with a little cold? Why has it hit me so hard? Why has it drained me so much? Why can't I just get up and walk around? Why do I just have to keep laying down because everything aches? And it's hard to get your head around, really. It's frustrating because you feel like you're supposed to, the general idea is that once you've had the treatment, once you've come through it, and once you beat cancer, that you should be, that's it, you're done, So in your mind, you're kind of like, well, I can get back to doing all the stuff that I was doing before, and my body will react to things the way it used to before. And, like I said before, it just doesn't work like that. And unless you can get your head around that quickly, it's really frustrating. And the problem is, if you don't get your head around it, then it allows a lot of other negative concepts and ideas to get into your head, and that's not a good place to be in.
Let's do our best to bring this conversation up a bit. But you said about, oh look, I've beaten cancer. That's a very strong statement.
Yeah.
But does that in a positive way? When you do have silly little mishaps in your life and silly little bad days, do you use what you've achieved to just help you get through them hard times?
Yeah, sometimes you can. Sometimes it depends on what it is, Sometimes you can use that idea or concept of your strength of beating it. But I think for a lot of people, and a lot of the time, and this was the case for me as well, that I lent on the people around me. I probably don't do it enough. They probably provoke me to lean on them more than I do it myself. So they'll probably reach out to me. But again, that puts me in a very fortunate position because the people around me know what I'm like. They probably know that I don't deal with this type of stuff the best way I should. So instead of allowing me to just kind of fester away on my own and have these thoughts and have these ideas of, how am I going to get through this, they kind of rally around me. You've seen how I am with my brother, my wife, and my parents, my sister as well. We're all very close, and my wife's family as well. So it's, I think, yeah, sometimes, like I said, you can lean on that. You can have that idea of, well, I've got the strength to go on. But I think the real key is leaning on the people around you and allowing them to help you, because I think sometimes you can, when you've overcome something so big and then another incident comes, another trauma comes that hits you hard, it can put you into this kind of, oh, why me? Why again? Wasn't that enough? Didn't I prove myself then? Why am I getting put through this again? Yeah, so it can be like that. And I think there are some things, and again, this is an individual thing. This, for me, it's different for everybody else. But, the kind of strength it takes to come through cancer, it's completely different to what we went through last year, which we mentioned briefly in the pod. And for me, that strength from the cancer or anything like that, this just wasn't enough for last year. It was a totally different experience. So it's really important to have those people around you.
I'm going to ask probably, you know what? I'm going to ask this question. I know it seems a little bit silly, but when I ask this, I know you wouldn't want to go back to the days and all of that. But if I was to put you in a time machine and take you back to the day where the moment you found out you had cancer, and if you could have a conversation with yourself now, one-on-one, what would you say to yourself?
Wow.
With everything you've been through, and as you say about the whole mindset, more than a mindset situation than the physical stuff. It's a bit like the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
So you're very healthy today. You can't mention you're going to be healthy and stuff like that, but you can do whatever you want to help the mindset battle. What would you say?
I would say, I think the first thing I would say would be to, really make the most of that support network, make more use of it than I did. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. I mean, I was lucky that I had a constant support network, so I was very fortunate. But I would say if I had that conversation, it'd be, this is not going to be easy. This is going to be one of the toughest things that you do. And although it's you suffering alone, you're not going to get through it on your own. You're going to have to rely on people around you. You're going to have to allow them to. You're going to have to allow them to kind of be a soundboard, a listening board for you to kind of let out some kind of emotion during that time, because holding it all in does not help your battle. It just makes it harder. It just makes it harder.
What would you, again, if you could go back, I hate to keep saying it because we never will, but, if, other than connecting with your, as you said, your support network and stuff like that, and leaning them on a little bit more, what else would you have done differently? Is there anything that you feel you was a bit silly doing this? Did you rush too much back into football? Did you throw yourself into your work too much? Did you ignore the people around you?
I threw myself into work, which that was the key thing probably for me. Probably why my recovery was a bit slower. Because I didn't talk about things, because I didn't open up to people about how I was feeling, I needed something to occupy me. Like I needed something that would take up the majority of my day. so that I wouldn't have to sit and think about, oh, I've got cancer. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to be, oh, I've got cancer. I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to be emotional over these things. I just wanted to block it out. I wanted to work, and I wanted to beat it. That was it. And to the point that I used to go to work, and then in my cycle for my chemo, it would fall on a Friday. So I would go into work a few hours, jump on a train, go to Bart's, where my wife would meet me, and I would have chemo after half a day's work, and I'd be there, 3-4 hours sometimes, depending on how the situation was. And my wife would sit there with me. She'd be there. I wouldn't talk in that time. Usually you're kind of looking around, looking at everybody else, looking at, up at the bag of
doing anything to stare at the problem in front of you.
Yeah. That's being pumped into you. And it's quite humbling to kind of have that stuff, you see that stuff going through you and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I'd get on the train with my missus, and we'd get the train back to my office where my car would be, and then she would drive home, because obviously I wouldn't be able to drive. I would be in no fit condition after around a chemo to drive. So I threw myself into work. Like I wasn't doing anything else. I didn't have during that time. I didn't have football. I wasn't playing. I wasn't coaching. I wasn't doing anything else really. I was just, and so I threw myself into work at that time.
Do you think you'd even been able to do it? Coach a team or even play yourself at the time? Like physically, probably not, but mentally, like.
Oh, mentally, well. The thing is, like, I think I probably thought I could, because I was just blocking out the fact that I had cancer. I was just like, well, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go and have this treatment done. I'm not going to think about why it's happening, why I'm getting the treatment. I'm just going to get it done. I'm going to listen to consultants. So in my mind frame, I was thinking, well, yeah, I can do whatever I need to do, my usual thing. But reality was that, I go to work, and bear in mind, I'm sitting in an office all day, right? I'm not running around. I'm not lifting things. I'm not carrying anything heavy. I'm basically sitting in the office doing finance stuff, planning finance for projects and stuff like that. That's what I did at the time. And I would get home and I'd feel like I'd done a 12-hour shift where I'd been, I don't know, working in Amazon or something, where I'm lifting heavy boxes and stuff like that. It was crazy, the level of tiredness just from sitting and being focused mentally on having to hit deadlines and stuff.
Well, I did say we'd keep today short, just for yourself. To be fair, as you can see, you probably are finding it a bit hard. I know you're happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
The plan is I'd like to do another follow-up episode, but I'd like, because as you said, you did get quite a random response. We did also as a channel. I'd now like to leave it to the people watching. I'd like them to just leave a comment, and then next time maybe we can sit down and go through the comments and answer some responsible questions.
Yeah.
Because, it's, look, as I said to you, we didn't plan this episode. I didn't want to plan this episode because if you plan an episode like this, you don't get the raw reaction and the raw emotion that comes with it. I know we did a lot on the first one because I was very wary of what we could say, what we wanted to say, and I now know there's boundaries, but I know some of them are open,
Yeah.
But before we do wrap it up, if there is anyone going through the Fahim that did, as we've been speaking about for the last half an hour, what would that message be to them?
So whatever level of stuff you're going through, I would say that although usually in these cases, like I said before, you're suffering alone, like you're feeling the effects of that by yourself. But that doesn't mean that you can't reach out to people and let them help you get through it, because you know, it can change everything having someone by your side to just help you through. Look, I used to sit in chemo, and I would see other people there on their own having the treatment. They were there on their own, and you can physically see the strain on them. And like I said, I didn't necessarily talk to my wife while I was having chemo, but she was always there in case I ever did. And stuff like that makes a big difference. So I would say to people, look, and I keep saying this, but it is really the most important thing for me, I think, is to just reach out to people. If people are willing to be with you and help you and allow you to lean on them emotionally, then do it. Take that opportunity, because it's tough to do it without that.
Cool. You've explained that quite well, to be fair. So, as I said, yeah, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. I think it's getting to me a bit now as well. So I think I need more of a break than Fahim does. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop this video a like, and yeah, don't forget to drop that comment, because, you know, because Fahim is quite close to me, and, you know, I did find out about the after side of cancer. I thought you just rang the bell and it was all happy days, you know, but, you know, it's clearly not. It's the battle never ends. And Fahim, you know what? Just before we end this, as you can see, this podcast, this was mainly your idea. You're the one that's always kind of backed us and stuff like that. Why do you want us to do this podcast? Why do you want us to have Just Talk?
Right. I think I keep putting the same message out, really. I think it's really important for people to hear about other people's experience sometimes. I think everybody deals with situations themselves. Their reactions to different situations are always unique to them. But I think you can find some peace of mind in hearing how somebody else coped with it, because then you feel like you've got something, a sort of guide that you can kind of address and use when you feel a little bit lost, you know, see how other people dealt with something. And I think with this podcast, really, I think the important thing was we know, you know, there are young men and women out there, young people out there that suffer every day, especially in this kind of digital world now, where it's very easy for comments and things to fly about and be quite nasty at times as well. And there's still this stigma attached to people opening up and talking about their feelings and not holding in something that is painful to them, or they feel shy about, or they are stressed about, and to get it out there. So we just want to let people know that, you know, if I at 40 years of age can come on and I've never spoken before and do a podcast, then I'm hoping that, you know, stronger, younger people that are will be willing to do the same to help themselves, and understand that, you know, people doing this podcast like yourself, Rob, are willing to help. You know, we've got the email address set up for people to get in touch with us. And look, we're not experts. We can only give our own experience. But what we can do through our own networks and through our own experiences is pass them to the right people to get the right help. Because, you know, it is important to get professional help as well as leaning on the kind of loved ones, the family and friends around you, which I've done, you know. So I think that the main message is really that, like you say, not just talk, but it really is, what to steal a phrase from BT from back in the day, it's good to talk, you know. It changes things. I had never opened up about that stuff I think I've even seen some of the comments more recently. One that my mum left, I hadn't seen that until a few days ago because I hadn't been on to check the videos. And she made a comment in there that we were living together. We were all in the same house at the time, and she made a comment that, you know, she would ask how chemo went. I would say, yeah, it was okay, it was fine, but I never really elaborated. I never really went into it. And it wasn't until she heard me talking about it on the podcast that she kind of got an idea of what it was actually like. And I was living with that person. So I think really the message is, look, learn from my mistakes maybe, or my experiences, and find something that works for you. And I think for everybody, it's really important to have someone to lean on.
Great stuff for him. As always, you explain stuff fully. I know we do go off track a bit, but you know what? It's all important, isn't it? It's all, everything coming out, it's all important. Guys, that was episode 12. Don't forget to drop a comment for the follow-up episode. Won't be anytime soon. We're going to leave it probably another month. But guys, thanks for checking in.
Questions though.
Peace.